This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, Phil Wham Bam Benamino!
Yo, it's your boy Wham Bam, and it's another Wham Bam Wednesday. And I want to thank you for being here. As always, the show about ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. And you know what? Today is no different. I got somebody for you. If you're a NASCAR race driver, or you like it, or if you're an Indy driver and you like it, or you just like racing in general, you're going to hear about a guy today that came from a little town out of Syracuse, New York, and who has risen to the top, doing all kinds of cool stuff that we're going to discuss. But before we get there, as always, the show is free. So I ask that first, please subscribe. Give us a little bit of love. You know, put a little love out here. Subscribe to us. Sit there and click that to the right. Get all the alerts so that you know what? You know that once a week, every Wham Bam Wednesday, you can go ahead and get our new episode. So first of all, I want to introduce this gentleman who flew all the way here from Charlotte today to be with us this morning. Right there is Bobby Lutz. Bobby Lutz is in the house. Hey, Bobby, how you doing, man?
Doing great.
Man, I can't thank you so much for being here today and stuff. Tell the viewers real quick a little bit about where you came from. I know Syracuse, New York, because we grew up there.
Oh, yeah.
So you got rid of the snow. You got rid of the cold. You're over in Charlotte now, right?
Yeah, loving it down in Charlotte. I went down there to visit a friend that moved there, and it took me about 2 days to realize that I was going to leave Syracuse behind, and Charlotte was going to be my new home.
Yeah, that was it. So, Bobby, you know, the viewers here just, and I haven't told them yet, so I'm going to let you guys know. Bobby started the Richard Petty Racing School. You were the one. You were the man behind all of this. So these people that are going out there today, you know, sharing this experience, getting able to actually race a car, like they're racing a NASCAR and an Indy car. And it's all because of you. How did you come up with this idea and dream?
Well, like I said, I moved down to Charlotte, and Charlotte being the NASCAR capital, I got down there visiting a friend and loved what I saw. All the excitement and everything was just NASCAR, and I grew up. Right outside of Syracuse, but grew up around racing. Went to the dirt tracks, and
we used to like to race. I mean, Bobby, I don't know if you remember this, but I do. When I was younger, I remember you used to always have these cool cars, and I remember it was a winter time and it was snowing, like everything was shut down. But you showed up. You're like, "Hey, Phil, I'm coming to get you, man. We're going for a ride." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And you showed up in this car. And I just remember we were flying down some side road. We were like on Preemption Road or County Road 23 or something. We were going a long stretch. There's no cars. Everything's shut down. And you're doing like 80 or 90. You're starting to speed up. And I'm like, whoa, man, slow down a little bit. And as soon as I said that, you looked at me and smiled. And you pulled up an emergency brake. And it did a 360. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And my heart went in my throat. And I was like, oh, shit, he really knows what he's doing. Okay, he can handle this car.
We did
From that point on, I realized you could drive. You could drive.
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of fun, especially in the snow.
So, obviously you drove cars. And so, I mean, tell everybody you were in the dirt racing.
Yeah, raced go-karts growing up, and then dirt modifieds, and loved racing, and knew I wanted to be involved in racing, when I grew up. And so when I was 19 years old or 20 years old, just turned 20 and moved to Charlotte, I decided that I wanted to. I got this crazy idea that if we were to offer a driving experience to people, that race fans, corporate America, get behind the wheel of a race car on a racetrack at, i.e. the Charlotte Motor Speedway, I thought that'd be something that people would enjoy doing. And so I put this business plan together and called and scheduled a meeting with Richard Petty. He had no idea who I was.
Right. How did that call go? Like, how do you find, a number for Richard Petty?
Call the race shop.
Yeah.
and just get the right person on the phone.
So you had to struggle a little bit to get to him.
So, I went in and showed him this business plan. And he says, "You think people would want to do this?" I said, "I think so." He says, "Let's try it."
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how things started. And that was 33 years ago, and
So the first racing school was in Charlotte then, and that was under Richard Petty.
Yep.
What was that like getting the first car to actually simulate or actually be able to get into that represented a NASCAR vehicle or an Indy vehicle? I mean, that had to have been an expensive trial run there. What was that like putting together?
Yes and no. It's fortunately it was back then there really was no market for old cars, so the cars sold for inexpensively. So I was able to we started with 3 race cars when we started the driving experience, and grew it from there. Just put the concept out there. Had called in favor after favor from everyone that I knew in the industry, especially from a PR standpoint. That was the one thing that we put the most emphasis on, was getting editorials, getting people out, writers in race cars, and getting them to write about the driving experience. We didn't have the internet like we do today.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's right.
the only thing
Now it's a lot easier.
Yeah, the only thing that you had back then was television, newspapers, and magazines.
Right.
And getting writers in cars was this. The early success. I was able to get a lot of writers from all of the racing publications out and in race cars and writing about the experience, and letting people know this is something that you can do, something that any race fan sitting in the stands.
I want to take you back because I'm just curious. What was it like the very first day when you actually opened? You had your first paying customer, back then, to actually get into a car. Were you there that moment? Do you remember that moment?
Oh yeah.
What was that feeling like?
It was great. It was great feeling to see these race cars going around the racetrack, and put the smiles on people's faces when they'd come in, and smiling ear to ear.
Yeah. How fast did they go?
Well, most of our customers are in the 135 to 150 mile an hour range, but we get some customers that are up in the low to mid 170s.
Really?
Yeah, it's
so they get to choose.
It's fast.
They're actually driving the car. So they're not riding in the car because they have the riding experience.
We do have ride-alongs as well.
So if people don't want to drive, they can get in it and ride. Okay.
But
what came first? Was it right, or was it always you had the option?
It was first drives.
Okay, wow.
It was the driving experience that started, and then from there we created the ride-along, where people could. They didn't want to drive; they just wanted to ride. Strap them in the passenger seat. We've where it actually what started that was we used to have an instructor in a lead car, and that lead car would have 2 students following, and just thought one other way to make money is put a passenger seat in that car and sell ride-alongs. So,
right.
So if you're out there doing the driving experience and your wife is there with you, if she could pay an extra X amount of dollars and get to sit in the passenger seat of the instructor car.
Probably most wives didn't want to join, right? Well, I'm sure there's some daredevils out there. Some women ride too. Do they drive?
Oh,
you get
yeah.
A lot of women drivers.
I tell you, the driving experience is something that you have to see this to believe it. But it's the women usually run faster than the majority of the men that are in the class.
Wow.
Usually the women end up with the fastest speeds because you're a man, right?
Right.
You know how to drive.
Of course, I'm a man.
You know how to drive. You know how to drive.
I would say
right?
I could drive. Yeah, I can say
you
I
don't
drive
need
pretty
any
good.
guidance. You don't need any instruction.
True,
During the instruction, the men aren't paying attention. They're not listening to the directions as they're given.
Yep.
Women are nervous because they feel that it's something that's different, something that that they're not used to, and so they really pay attention to the instruction. They follow the instructions when they get out there on the racetrack, and usually are the fastest of the group.
Yeah.
The men usually do not run as fast as what the women do.
You know what? It's kind of funny because it sparks something I actually heard about a week ago. that actually women are more intelligent than men. You know, that is statistically proven. I'm not bashing those men. I'm just saying, statistically proven, there is some facts to that. So, and you know what? I actually owned a women's professional football team, and I'll say the same thing. Women were like sponges. They want to learn. They didn't have any bad mistakes.
Yep.
And probably in the same scenario there where they're listening and everything else. And you're right. As guys, we got egos. You know, we don't need this information. We can drive. Although I've never done your experience, I need to do that. I definitely need to do that. That has to be really wild. What's the liability like for you with that? I mean,
well, we run a lot of students through the program and very few crashes. It's, we'll run, on average 70,000 people a year through the program, and we may wreck 4 or 5 race cars a year.
Gotcha.
So, in typically when that happens, it's a man who's not paying attention. As we tell them, the most dangerous spot you can be on the racetrack is down on the white line at the bottom of the racetrack. If you drop your left side tires down on the apron on the flat surface, it'll shoot your car straight to the wall. And it is the fastest way around the racetrack, on the bottom, but it is the most dangerous part of the racetrack. Wow. And, it's every once in a while.
That's where everybody wants to go.
People want to test that and think that they're going to get an extra 1/10 of a second faster by hugging the white line. And unfortunately, it sometimes causes them to crash cars.
Now, let me ask you, in go-karts and stuff, I know if you get a little bit, rubbing and racing and stuff, they'll shut you down or they can shut the car down. Do you guys have control of the actual car? Can you guys literally shut the car down from the, inside the booth or, at the track?
The answer is yes and no. Okay. You do not want to shut the car down because if you do, you're going to lose the power steering. And when you lose the power steering in the car, it's when you have people are going to panic at that point. We did have shutoffs in the cars, but two reasons. The one is the loss of the power steering, and the second thing is there's other students that are out there on the racetrack, and all of a sudden, if a car loses power and just starts going slow, and another student's running up at 150 mile an hour, 160 mile an hour on that car, that's when people panic.
So actually, people can race each other. So there's more than one car on the track at a time.
Yeah, we'll have between 4 and 6 cars out on the racetrack at one time.
Wow, that's so cool.
So really what it is there's an instructor that's up in the spotter stand watching every student that's out there on the racetrack, and each car has their own spotter. So if you're doing something wrong, the instructor's telling you what you're doing wrong, what you need to do to correct it. If you have a question, so all you got to do is key the mic and ask the instructor whatever it is that you need to ask them, and they'll answer it. It's a really safe program. The way that things are done, people when they get in these race cars, it's like reality hits them. Mm-hmm. This is different than what they thought it was like. The cars are very powerful. They're fast. When they're out there on the racetrack with the high banking that most of the racetracks are, it's something that they pucker up.
Right.
And they don't do any. They really do pay attention and follow direction that they're given. And
well, it is their life. I mean, let's be honest. There have been racers that unfortunately have passed away, gotten in wrecks. They were professional drivers, and it could happen. So I guess it could happen to anybody at any time. You just never really know. Mm-hmm. Have you had any situations where a person may have gotten into a situation where they may have had a seizure or, maybe got rubbed the wrong way and bounced off and got into a crash? Like you said, it doesn't happen very often, but is there anything bad or anything fatal?
No,
like that?
Nothing serious. That the customers that they're out there in the stock cars. It's been something that's. The cars are very well built. They're very, a lot of safety features are in the cars. Nothing really serious that's, injuries with the stock cars that we've had.
That's great.
It's been, knock on wood, very good. And most
33 years, you're doing something right. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So, let's transition that a little bit. Let's talk about, I know you had the Richard Petty School. You said you started with Richard himself, meeting him and getting him involved and so forth. But since then, obviously, you moved on. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what happened during your releasing Richard Petty and getting yourself away from that.
Yeah, things kind of come around. I started in 90, and in 97 had an opportunity to sell my portion of the driving experience, and I was
You make some
26.
good money.
I was 26 years old at the time,
Yeah.
and was offered,
Millions?
a lot of money, well into seven digits.
There
and I
you go.
thought, well, wow, this is great. I can, I'll
Do something with
I'll
that.
take it, and and thought that that's really what I wanted to do.
How much did you put into it when you started? You were young. You didn't have anything. What did you put? You
Richard
just-
put $20,000. Gave me $20,000 to
20
to
grand
start with.
start up. Unbelievable. That's awesome. What a great way. All right, so let's go. So you're getting paid now.
So it was growing the business to that point in '97. We had locations all over the country. One of the biggest, and I think one of the most, things that I'm most, I think one of my biggest successes for me that I think that I've had over my career is opening a location at Disney World. We are the one and only third party that's ever been able to own and operate any attraction at Disney property.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I
I gotta ask, did Mickey Mouse ride in it? Did Mickey go for a ride around the track?
Couldn't fit his
Did
head
you
in
ever
the
do
car.
anything of that? Yeah. What is that?
But Michael Eisner, who was the CEO at the time, and came out and he went through the experience. He drove the race cars. He tested it out before, he put his stamp of approval on it. And,
Very cool.
And that was something that I worked on for about a year and a half. And when that contract got negotiated and signed, and we opened up that location, that was about 6 months later.
Let's talk about that real quick. You said it took you a year and a half to sign a deal like that. What goes into something like that? Because a lot of viewers today, they don't understand. They think you just go in, boom, somebody says yes, and it happens overnight. These bigger companies, I mean, Walt Disney, obviously they're not going to make a decision on the same spot, but you continue to go back and back.
Oh, it
Explain
was
the
so
process
much.
of a year.
It was
and a half.
it was
How does
so
that
much
work?
courting that took place, and getting people at Disney all the way, like I said, all the way up to the CEO, Michael Eisner at the time, and Sid Bass, which was one of their major investors in Disney. That at the time that the two of them came out and wanted to personally go through the experience. Brought their wives. Their wives did ride-alongs, and they drove the race cars. But they needed to see it and understand it. But it was several people that there was another 20, 30 people that I had to pitch and on the experience and the safety and the way that things were done and the customer experience and it was a long process and a lot of work and a lot of presentations and a lot of bringing people to Charlotte. My staff, myself and my staff, going to Orlando and going through several meeting after meeting and talking about the way that things would be done and then the other thing is that Disney was very was important to them is not only myself and all of my staff understanding the Disney way of doing things.
Right.
From they have a great training program that they put every employee through and on how what their expectations are and how to treat customers, even the words that you use when you're referring to the guests and
Right.
and in your operation. It was a great experience and really helped me understand a different way of I thought that I always prided myself on our customer service, but that I learned a lot from that experience with them as well, and
Sure.
Using those same
Tools.
things that I learned back then, today still in the business.
Right. Well, you're very fortunate because you got to learn from some of the best.
Yeah,
And, I
absolutely.
say all the time, if you hang around successful people and you actually gravitate to them, you're going to learn something. Something you have. So many people have egos these days, and they want to think they're better than somebody else. And it's like, man, check that shit at the door.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much more to be learned, and there's so much further somebody could go, and they don't even realize that.
Yeah.
So I mean, here you are, you're a young kid. You're 7 digits, you're making money, and all of a sudden you're like, what's next? Let me go do this, let me do that. Disney had been a great feather in the hat. You know, did you just come out of there like, yes, I did it?
Oh, it was.
You know,
Yeah,
was it a party that night?
it was. It was a lot of work.
Yeah. Now, what goes into it, like a track? Like, did you guys have to build a track down there?
No, fortunately, there was the former owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Tony George, owned the IRL, and he actually built the racetrack there for them to have races there. You know, they only ran a couple races, and then you know, Disney stopped doing that, but allowed us to continue on with doing the racing experience there, and you know, went on for a long time, and you know, but then you know, when I had the opportunity to sell the company, I thought, this is great. I got all this money now, and I can retire and you know, not have to do anything. And,
Right.
And but
What'd you do then?
I'm
What'd
just
you do
not.
with, what'd you do with the money?
Well, Did
you lose? Did you lose it all?
This
Did you
was
blow
the
it out
end
like
of
so many
This
people?
was the end of '97, and that is when tech just went crazy. Fortunately, one of my best friends you know, we've been friends for the day I moved down to North Carolina. I met him, and Bill was a broker and a financial planner, and I put 100% of the money to invested in the market, invested in tech.
Good for you.
And boy, that first year we made over 120% on my money. It more than doubled it.
Wow.
And I thought when I sold the
I'm
one
super
business,
rich now.
I had a lot of money, and then I had
Right.
another 120%
Doubled.
more.
Yeah.
It was crazy. You know, days I'd wake up and pinch myself, and it's like, wow, you know, my account's up, you know, 6 digits today.
And I didn't
in
do
a day.
nothing. And I
Yeah,
didn't do
did
nothing.
But I couldn't do that. It drove me crazy.
You know, let me ask you real quick about that, because so many kids today always think, you know, that's the answer, right? Stock market, stock. But you know, you got to, number one, you got to get a winner, because you can get a loser just like anything else.
yeah.
Because as some go up, obviously some go down too.
Yep.
But what is it like when you make 120%? That's not average, obviously.
No.
You know, they say the market average 8-10%, right? Typically, if you keep it long term, and you're in some safe stuff. But knowing the fact that, man, I just made 120%. Did you say, let's just do this again? Let's just do it again for another year?
I honestly missed getting up, going to the office, creating and building and growing a business. I thought, you know, even though I was making all this money, I didn't feel fulfilled. I wasn't happy.
You weren't earning it.
Yeah,
You felt like it was given to me.
It wasn't earning it.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
And
yeah.
it was like, you know, this isn't, you know, it's real, but it's not.
I want to do something
Yeah,
with it.
I want to earn my money.
Right.
And so, you know, I got this. I had a non-compete when I sold the driving experience. Specifically said I could not start a NASCAR racing experience.
What'd you do?
I thought I got, you know, started thinking, what am I going to do now?
I got his money.
What am I going to do? And you know, I've got to do something. And I was watching a race one day, and a Texaco commercial came on. And there was a famous motor builder, Robert Yates, that was on this commercial. And then one of the most famous race car drivers in the world, Mario Andretti.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the two of them arguing back and forth. Robert saying that the motors are most important. Mario says the driver. And, you know, Robert says, well, you know, the motor crosses the finish line first. And Mario's like, well, not in an Indy car, because Indy cars are, you know, rear engine.
That's pretty cool. That's right.
And,
I
you
didn't
know,
see that one.
and I'm thinking, you know, if I can create an open wheel racing experience, that would be the ultimate. Be able to, you know, driving a stock car is great, tons of fun, but an Indy car would be amazing. So I called the head of my. We built our own race cars in house at Richard Petty Driving Experience, and our head fabricator. I called him.
How many mechanics you got there? I'm just curious.
Well, mechanics. We have a lot of mechanics. Total employees, we've got over 400 employees.
So that's just it. And that's just working on cars, making sure they're safe, they're running properly, parts fixed. That's incredible.
You know, we run at 17 tracks, and you know, all around the country, and have crews all over the place. And
Wow.
and but it's a big operation. And so I called Charlie and said, Charlie, I want to start an open wheel driving experience. first he says, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Well, you know that.
A little bit.
You know
little
I'm
bit.
crazy."
Right.
But I want to start an open wheel driving experience. What are your thoughts? He says, what are you thinking? I said, well, I talked to John Bickford, who is Jeff Gordon's stepdad. John is who, guided Jeff through his whole career. Jeff, fortunately, when I moved down to Charlotte, he and I moved there at the same time, met one another, and became very good friends before he got into driving cup cars.
Right.
And we bought a house together by the Speedway, and we were both going up in our careers at the time. Him with his driving, and me with the driving experience. And I said, John is someone who I know who knows. He's the person that would know more about open wheel cars than anyone else I knew. So I called him and said, John, I want to start a open wheel driving experience. Would you be willing to meet with myself and one of my the guy who built our stock cars, Charlie? And he said, sure. He said, I'll be happy to sit down with you. And John's an engineer. He's developed all types of things with race cars, and so he's very smart man. And so Charlie and I and John sat down, spent hours at lunch. Once we started getting into it and started talking about different components and ways that we can build the car, everyone really got really involved, and
You got excited again.
Yeah,
I can just see it in your eyes. The juices started coming. They're coming back right now. I can see it. You're reliving it a little bit.
That got me excited. That really got the blood flowing, and so we left that ended up leaving that day with all these ideas down on paper, and Charlie went to work at designing and building, figuring out what components we were going to use on the car, because with these cars, there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind. One is the parts that are on the car have to be reliable. You have to get a lot of life out of them. Race cars, when a team builds a car,
how many runs can a car go around the track before you really have to, I mean, obviously, I know you service it after every ride.
Like a stock car, a NASCAR. There's these teams build these cars, or did build these cars in those days, to be able to get through a 500-mile race. They didn't care after that.
Gotcha.
Because everything got taken off the cars, all new components got put on the car,
being stripped
for the next race. So for us, for the driving experience, we're trying to think, what can get us. This is a business.
Right.
It's got to be, at the end of the day, it has to make money in order to stay in business.
Sure.
So, when we looked at the components that went on the cars, we wanted, one, safety first was the first thing. It's got to be safe.
Insurance had to kill you.
It has to be reliable, and, you have to be able to get lots of life out of it. So, so we came out of there with a list of all these pieces that we're going to put on these cars. And, and Charlie went to work on building the prototype. And, finally, after about 8 months, the car was finally done.
So that's how long it took, 8 months to actually get the prototype.
For the first one, yeah.
For the first one, she did more than once.
Then we went and started testing.
What did that cost to put together?
Oh, the first car, it cost me about $1.5 million. Yeah. To build the first one.
Just like that, hoping that it's going to do what you want it to do.
Yeah, because, molds and for the body, pieces on the car that had to be CNC'd and stuff made that just didn't exist. But
you know what's cool about that, and I hope the viewers understand it. You put your money where your mouth is. You said, man, this is something I want to do. This is something I got a vision for, and you know what? I'm gonna invest my own money that I have, and see how it looks, and see if it can go, and if it's not, we're gonna make it better.
Oh, we're
gonna figure it out.
Spending money and spending money and spending money, and not without any knowing, because this isn't anything that anyone's ever did before. Right. It was something that we created, that I created, Charlie, all of us created.
You're the first.
And it was, there was a lot of risk involved with it, but I felt confident that we'd end up at the end having a product that worked.
Right.
And, fortunately it did.
And this is the time we got to thank our sponsors, Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. If you're a merchant out there and you're still paying credit card fees, call 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. Find out why they are the future in merchant processing. Now, what's the difference between the experience between an Indy car and a NASCAR? You know, if you were to get in both, what's really the difference?
Both are race cars, both are on a racetrack, but the experience is completely different between the two. Stock cars are fun. They're challenging to drive. Indy cars are kind of take the intensity to another level. Mm-hmm. You're sitting 2 inches off the ground. You're laid back. You got a really small steering wheel in the car. You can only see the tops of the front tires. You can't see the nose of the car, and you're in the open air. And you're going 140, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour around a racetrack. The faster that you go, the more downforce is created. The car sticks to the track even more. You can carry so much more corner speed in the turns. It's intense.
A lot of little details there.
Yeah, it's
that's
intense.
Crazy. That's crazy. So now you got the Indy car. You know you're going to do this. You're going to launch this.
Yep.
Where did you launch it first? Where's the first one?
Out in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, the first one.
Back at
Why'd
this
you choose
time,
Las Vegas?
This was back in 1999. And when you looked at open wheel racing and the popularity of open wheel racing, it was more popular on the West Coast than it was the East Coast. So I felt that we had a better chance of launching it in Vegas. They had a track there that...
So you did your homework.
Yeah.
You did your homework. You figured that was going to be our best shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there was a racetrack that out there. At that time, the track was built in 1996. And it was still a new facility, a lot of interest around it, and had a great relationship with the owner of the racetrack, who we opened up a Richard Petty driving experience there in '96, and with the stock cars, and had a great relationship with Richie, and thought that that'd be a great place to launch it, and so Vegas was the first place that we started, and then from there went to California Speedway, and then back.
What did Richard think of that? I mean, when he sees you pull up with the Indy car for the first time, it's like, there's the NASCAR and there's the Indy car coming. It's like, did that kind of put like a little
friendly competition?
Little friendly competition. Okay, kept it friendly. That's good.
Different types of cars. So
sure,
it's different. There's a big difference. A stock car fan versus an open wheel fan, completely different fans. So we weren't going after the same customer. So it was, it was a friendly, rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what did you name it?
At the time, the CART organization was still in existence back then. That CART is what, Mario Andretti, Al Unser, all of the open wheel history started as. Mm-hmm. And then Tony George went off and started the IRL to compete against CART. IRL just started back then. I went to CART and did a licensing agreement with them and called it CART 101. It was branded that up until 2004, and in 2004 rebranded the open wheel school as Mario Andretti Racing Experience, and it has operated as Mario Andretti for 20 years now.
Gotcha. So how come not the Bobby Lutz Racing School? I mean, come on, you are the brains behind it.
Unfortunately, Richard Petty and Mario Andretti are two names that more people were aware of that knew than Bob Lutz.
I got you. Do you have like a go-kart track called the Bobby Lutz go-kart track? Something,
Actually, I do have, but it's not named that. But I do own some go-karts. Go-kart facility in Charlotte.
What's the name of that one?
It's called the Speed Park.
Speed Park. All right, so
and it's a lot of fun.
We're going to change that name in the next 5 years. We're going to make it the Bobby Lutz Speed Park. You know what I mean? That's my goal, is to tell you to make it the Bobby Lutz Speed Park.
Speed Park at Concord Mills.
Very cool, very cool. So now, you got this, school in Vegas. This is your first one. Mm-hmm. And where are you at today with that?
Yeah.
How many?
We're at 17 locations now. When I sold the Richard Petty driving experience, I had a non-compete. That non-compete expired, and I decided to get back into the stock car business. And I opened up at the time. The first opened up the first stock car school as Jeff Gordon Racing School, and that was in 2005.
Just another little name throw out there.
I mean, I know it's from Richard Petty, Mario Andretti, Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, you should pick some good ones.
I've been very fortunate in my career to have worked with some great companies and great personalities.
I'm sure you learned from all of them too.
Absolutely, and I had to call Jeff and, hey Jeff, I have a favor to ask. I want to start a stock car school. I really wanted to brand it NASCAR. I went to NASCAR first and tried to get them to do a license agreement with me to brand the experience, NASCAR Racing Experience. They were very hesitant, but I didn't give up. I started those conversations, and in 2004, or I'm sorry, in 2004. Opened up the Jeff Gordon School in 2005, and kept adamantly, kept having those meetings. If I kept getting told no and kept getting excuses on why, they wouldn't do it, and I just kept calling and kept going back there and kept.
So tell the viewers real quick, what goes into a licensing deal? Explain what a licensing deal is.
Sure.
Obviously NASCAR being the name, it's just like the NFL or some of the, but explain to some of the viewers that don't understand what an actual licensing deal is.
Well, it's being able to use the name, be able to using the logo, and basically an endorsement from that company on your product, saying that it's they get behind it, and there's a fee. They get paid.
They get paid.
They get paid for it, and so
it's good for both parties.
Yeah, but
in
whoever it is that you go to, though, they have to have faith in you and faith in the service that you offer and the products that you offer, because what you do affects them and their business and all the equity they built in their marks. So they were very cautious, because back at that time, NASCAR would give licenses to traditional licensees, people that made hats, shirts, putting their logo on those products,
right,
and selling them. But as a business, that
something goes wrong,
that actually uses their name,
right,
is something they were very reluctant to do, and but I wouldn't take no for an answer.
What were some of their objections? What were some of the reasons why they said they didn't want to do it?
Well, one of it was their concern about putting people in a race car, and if something were to happen,
safety.
For them it would look bad for them. So the safety was something that I really had to get them be comfortable with and understand the way that we do our experience is safe, and I've been in this business longer. I created the industry, created the driving experience industry, as Marcus Smith from Speedway Motorsports, which owns half of the racetracks out there. Marcus always calls me the godfather of the racing world, business, racing school business. But it is something that I could understand from their standpoint, but also could understand the value that it brought to them and the brand and to racing,
I think
by
that's
putting
the key
people
there.
in race cars.
I think it's key there. One of the huge words that people don't realize, you have to have value. And by you building the value with your brand, with the racing school, eventually you did get to sign NASCAR.
Yeah, so finally in 2009, NASCAR agreed to move forward and grant me permission to use.
So this started in 2005. In 2009,
2004 it started.
Okay, so 5 years later,
Yeah.
it took 5 years and you didn't give up.
No.
I mean, that's what it's all about right there. That's it. Don't take, and I tell you viewers, don't take no, N-O as an answer. It's K-N-O-W. I need to know more.
Yeah.
And if you tell them more, you don't give up.
And over those 5 years, there was several different people who ran their licensing office, and every time a new person would get put in place over there, I'd call them up. And the last one that said no, is now gone. So someone new is in there. So I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and until I finally was successful and got a yes.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
And,
That's awesome.
and since then
They made some great money.
That's been great.
I mean, come on.
Well, but it's the money is nice, but when you put someone in a race car, they have a new appreciation, one, for race car drivers, and two, a better understanding of the sport.
Well, not just the sport, but even the vehicle itself. I think, I know myself being in a vehicle like that, I would have to say I would have more of an appreciation for the actual vehicle itself and those that actually designed it and made it, to make it that it can go 150 miles an hour with somebody like me driving it and I can feel safe in it.
Yep.
Like there's got a lot goes into that, Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, the knowledge alone is hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars worth of knowledge.
Yep. So most people can't. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, as I am,
Me too. Me too. Let's happen this year. We gotta be quiet.
But to have an opportunity to be able to go and play football on at AT&T Stadium,
Right.
Would be something that kids would love the opportunity to do. Here with us,
I just want to run through the tunnel like Rudy, man. I just want to put the uniform on. I want to just do a kickoff. Let me do a kickoff, man.
And that's what we offer.
They don't even return to kickoffs anymore. Just let me run down in a kickoff.
The racing experience is that you get to put a uniform on, put a helmet on, get in a actual real race car that race car drivers, your favorite driver has driven, and get strapped in, get a helmet on, and radio communication with a spotter, just like they have.
You got radios in there too. So like the radio in your helmet, you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So you're talking.
That's cool.
To your
You got to give me one of
spotter
these, man.
And
You gotta get one of these.
we do it right here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're
Let's
up the road
go.
from
Let's
you.
go.
We got to do that. We got to get you in there.
Yeah, we got to
one.
do that. That'd be fun.
So it's something that I think that NASCAR has brings a lot of value to my business with the equity they built in their name, but also I think that we bring a lot of value to them by putting fans in these cars, whether it's the fan that watches the races on Sundays from the stands, putting them in there, or whether it's the corporate clients that are spending millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in the sport, but don't really understand it. When you get up to the C level of some of these companies, they question, why are we spending this money in NASCAR? Once these people come out to a race, see all the fans, they see the excitement, they see everything that's involved, they see the loyalty that the fans are to the brands that support the sport, and then you put them behind the wheel of a race car, and they understand better what these drivers go through and understand the sport better. It turns them into fans, and
Right.
and they have a better understanding
become
now
super
of
fans.
why they're spending the money that they are in the sport, and so I think it's great for everyone.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Trying to look back at, the different types of racing between Indy, between NASCAR, what would you say has the more fans? Well, I mean, is there one leads more than other?
Clearly, NASCAR has more fans
Gotcha.
than the open wheel racing, but with the
Formula One's
Formula
out
One's
now.
making
They're making some noise right now.
They are.
They're doing all these different tours, right? They're doing different race vectors. One coming up in Vegas in November here. It's going to happen.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on that, and how is that impacting?
That race is going to be phenomenal. This is the first race that the actual Formula One, the company, actually is going to own and operate. Normally they will license other promoters to do events at their facilities. They put them on. This one F1 is actually promoting. They're building the track. They're going to have all kinds of things going on in the city. It's going to be phenomenal. I think they are putting everything they have into this to make it as exciting and fun for everyone that's going to be participating.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to going.
Yeah,
I wouldn't miss it.
Did you go to Miami? They had one in Miami.
I did go to
right?
Miami.
How was that?
Miami
How was
was a great event.
Yeah.
And I think that Mario's son Michael Andretti. Michael owns some IRL teams and some other forms of racing as well, and they're lobbying really hard right now to have an F1 team. Their first car, they just built a car and they're testing it right now, an F1 car, and
Wow.
they've been approved to get into by the not F1 as adding a team yet, but they're lobbying. All of the other team owners need to agree that to let them in the sport. But he's working hard at getting the approval, and hopefully they get it soon. And I think that's the one thing that the U.S. needs is another team, and a team like is like an Andretti involved in F1 for F1 to grow in the United States.
Right.
They've added these other events now. They have Austin, they have Miami, they have Las Vegas, and I think that having an Andretti team in F1 will really help the sport. But NASCAR is as popular as it is, and they've done great job with really targeting younger demographic, getting younger kids involved and into the sport as well. And I see a great future in both sports.
So how do you feel, talking about this, how do you feel about the technology that's changed some of these gamers and stuff? You see movies being made, where these gamers are now, not just, pretending that they're driving these, but they're actually inside of them now.
Yeah.
Do you see more and more of that excitement? And do you see more of these gamers starting to come from from outside of their bedrooms, right, where they're racing stuff and actually into cars,
race cars and being successful?
Yeah, because I got to imagine your racing school would give them a good opportunity to go there and see whether or not they could really handle it.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's it is these sims are amazing. The technology that's going into these and how real that they really are, and people have proven that you can go from racing, on these games and in the simulators to actual race cars and being successful.
So you believe that they're fairly competitive when it comes to that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
How about the electric world? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you think racing? I mean, obviously the motors, you hear the rumble. You got the gas, you got the fuel and stuff. But do you think there's ever going to be an electric?
I do.
Race.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I'm a huge car fan, and
Is that something that's working on now?
I love sports cars, and going from an internal combustion engine to a hybrid to a full electric vehicle is there's such differences between
It is, man. I tell you,
all three.
I got the Plaid, man. It's fast as hell. Faster than the Lambo, faster than the Ferrari. I mean, it goes.
Oh yeah,
and you wouldn't believe it, until you actually get in it.
I've got a Urus, and people ask me because I've got a Urus and also have a Mercedes, the all electric EQS,
EQS,
AMG, and there's a spot from work that it's a 6-lane highway, and the people that are on it are
don't give up.
Getting
Don't tell
off,
anybody.
getting off one to go, to get on another highway, and then you're getting on and you're trying to get over to the other side. So there's all these cars everywhere. In the Lamborghini, I'll punch it to get to that outside, and I'll look down. I'll be going 100 mile an hour. In the when I get into the Mercedes, I'll do the same thing. I look down, I'm going 130 mile an hour.
Yep.
It's that much quicker.
It's
amazing how fast that the electric the acceleration is just amazing.
So what do you think stopping NASCAR and stopping it to actually?
I think it's coming.
That? You think it's
I
coming?
think it's coming soon. I think there's probably going to be a hybrid. I don't know. There maybe go straight to electric. I'm not sure. But I do know that all of the series are they are so the automobile manufacturers are heavily invested and heavily involved in all forms of racing, and what they want is something that on the racetrack that's similar to what's on the road. And when all these manufacturers are now converting over to electric, you're going to see the race cars converting to electric because they've got to be the same, and they use racing as a platform for to make their cars better, their street cars better. So the things that they do on the racetrack, they learn from, and they take that knowledge that they learned from the race cars and apply it to cars that are driven on the road every day. And I think that you're going to see electric race cars soon.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. They have to come in for a pit. What do they got to do then? They can't. You got to charge it up for 30 minutes. It's got to be supercharged. You got to change your battery pack or
Drop
something.
the battery pack. And put another one up there.
And go. That's awesome. What do you think? Is next? I mean, what's next into the racing world? I mean, you see how it's evolved. You see how it's changed over the years. I mean, obviously, you were a dirt racer back in the day, so you've gone from dirt, go-karts. You actually raced go-karts when you were younger, right, as a kid. So you went from go-karts to dirt racing. You got into NASCAR. You see Indy cars. Like, where's the progression? I mean, I know technology has changed, obviously, and, the tires are different. Everything's just different, right? Yep. So, I mean, what can make a car go faster? Like, what do you think? I mean, what's next? Does a car go 230, 250? 300. I mean, what's next?
Well, you can do that today with the cars. That's why when like NASCAR on the big tracks at Daytona, Talladega, Texas, that there's restrictor plates on these motors because the problem is when they start going so fast, over 200 mile an hour, when a car spins, they go in the air. NASCAR's done a great job with the downforce of the cars, with the flaps in the hoods and the roofs of the cars to keep them on the ground. But you can't run them much faster than 200 mile an hour because they turn into airplanes and they just start flying in the air.
Right.
Back in the back in the 90s, when cars would spin, they'd get up and they'd start flipping, or they go up into the catch fence, which is really dangerous. And you haven't seen that it doesn't happen anymore,
right.
Because they've spent so much time and effort on keeping the cars on the ground. And one of the things was taking speed away from them, and second thing is the aerodynamics of the cars and the roof flaps and the other things to when a car does spin to keep it on the ground. But the cars back in the 80s actually went I believe it was 230 mile an hour or 220 miles.
Yeah,
it was super fast. That I think it was Bill Elliott that did it in a stock car at Talladega. It's to see how fast one could run, and that's too fast.
Right. So what's next for Bobby Lutz? I mean, you've done it all. I mean, as far as the racing school goes, do you got something else you're planning? You got anything else in the back of mind that you got that you're thinking about?
Oh, I dabble in a lot of different things. Fortunately, I've been able to be in a position where things I've been able to invest in a number of different things that I think could work and
I know real estate is one thing that you're highly into, right?
Yeah.
Did you buy an island over in like the Bahamas or something?
Yeah.
You're working on a project over there?
Yeah. I have
Tell us a little about that.
A lot of real estate down there. Got involved with a group of investors. We bought a hotel and then a second one and then a third one. And so we own and operate 3 hotels down there. And then from there, I've bought some other properties on my own or with another investor. And whether it's as you said, half of an island or
right.
Several acres that I'm developing right now down there. I think there's down in the Exumas, which is the southernmost part of the Bahamas, is
That's
just
where you're at now.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Some of the most beautiful waters and beaches that I've ever seen, and love it down there. And down the road, when if and when I ever do retire, I can't just sit back and do nothing. So,
Clearly.
I'm looking at that as,
New
keep me
project.
busy while, when I retire is, running a resort, or, I may be back behind the bar making drinks, or
Not a
who
horrible
knows?
place to
But
be.
I will not be sitting down just doing nothing.
There you go.
I won't be drinking cocktails on the beach.
That's good. That's good. Some of the viewers out there that were looking to learn a little something, how somebody like yourself gets to go from a little town, Syracuse, New York. You got this dream, you put it on paper. You really, you bootstrap 20 grand to put together to help out to get the Richard Petty, racing school going. But what would you say, obviously you're in a huge financial better position today, but you used your money over and over again, which a lot of people, I think, forget and don't understand how to do that. They don't know how to multiply their money. They don't know how to, allow their money to grow. They get a chunk of money and they're like, hey, let me go buy a new house. I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to get mama, take care of mama. We're going to go eat steaks now instead of hamburgers, and they change their lifestyle.
Yep.
And then within 5 years, they're broke again, or they can't realize what's happened.
I can't tell you how many times I've said that, told people that same story, is that, if I make $100, I want to figure out how can I turn that 100 into 200. If I have 1,000, I want to turn it into 2,000. If it's $1 million, I want to turn it into 2 million. That's the thing. Yes, I have nicer cars, I have bigger houses, but I like to think that my lifestyle hasn't changed. I do have nice things that I can afford, and I can go buy anything I want, but I don't. It's everything. Every dollar I spend, I look at it as an investment. Whether it's a car or whether it's a home, I look at, can I buy it for this price today, and down the road, can I get more for it?
Right.
And there's a lot of people who come into money and just piss it away, just spend it on stupid things, and whether it's private jets, whether it's things that you can never get back. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
I look at everything, every dollar that I make. How do I grow it? How do I make it? Get a return off of every dollar I spend.
Right.
It's working hard. I can't tell you, no matter which business it was, when I started them, it's 24/7. It's long days, hard work, and believing in whatever it is that you're doing. And as I tell, so many of my employees too, I don't care what it is that you're doing. Do it the best that you possibly can. Do it 100%.
Amen.
Whether it's cleaning the toilets, whether it's negotiating contracts, whether it's building race cars, whatever you're doing and even if whatever I do, it's and my wife hates asking me to if she tells me hey, clean off the back porch is dirty, the dog's got dog hair out there, she knows I'm going to be out there for 3 hours because I'm not just gonna blow it off. I'm going to get every piece of dirt from every crevice out. It's going to be spotless when I'm done with it, because if you're going to do something, do it right. Do it 100%, no matter what it is that you're doing.
That's right.
No matter how minuscule you think it is, and especially if you're working for someone, because an employer can recognize an employee that puts in 100%. And those are the employees that are going to get rewarded for their efforts. And those are the ones that come in and just want more, always going to complain about how long they're working and want to make more money. And no, show me that you're worth it, and I will either give you more money, or I'll give you more responsibility. You'll succeed in the business. But ones that just think that and unfortunately, so many of our youth that today expect things to be given to them versus working hard for it. I've always worked for everything I've gotten, and the best thing I could say to anyone is just put in 100%, no matter what it is that you're doing. It'll get recognized, and you'll be rewarded for it. people do. Employers, are always looking for those employees that stand out from the rest of the employees, and when you find a good one, you want to keep them, so they'll be taken care of.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's funny because you don't have to have, and I tell people this all the time. It's really hard making that first million. It's a grind. When you look back and you think probably about the first million, when you finally made that first million, it was a grind. The second million comes a little bit easier because you know what to do and you made some mistakes along the way and you figure it out. The next million even better, easier and easier and stuff. So it gets easier if you utilize your money to help you. Yep. And I don't care if you're making $10. You make $10. You could start with $10 and turn that 10 into 20, like you said, and make that 20 into 40. And people have a hard time realizing that and struggling with that. They want that quick fix. They want that, hey, let me go gamble. I can get a quick return, or let me go do something illegal because I can get a quick return. But you don't realize the consequences that come with bad money, as I call it.
Yep.
It always disappears. It always goes away.
Absolutely.
But if you work hard and you do, just that, and that's in everything you do.
Yep.
I wake up every morning. First thing I do is make my bed. I try to, I make sure, you wake up, thank the Lord for being up, number one, because, we get to wake up. Yep. I get to go to work. Not I got to go to work. I get to go to work. You got to be excited about that feeling. And when you start your day in clutter, your day becomes cluttered. So I believe in start your day. If I'm too lazy to make my bed, I'm too lazy to put my clothes in a hamper. There's just what's my day gonna look like?
Yep.
I can't do the little things. How the heck am I gonna do the big things?
Yep.
And you build a habit of that. And fortunate, I got great parents and have been raised, to show me and teach me how to work, and I'm thankful for that. And but it's important to be around those types of people as well. And it's important that they hear these things too, because there's so many people that I get encounter all day and say, man, that's a great car. Man, I didn't pay for that car. My rental property is paid for that car. I found another way to use my money to make money so I could have that car, type of thing. And that's the part they don't realize. And it took some sacrifices along the way. It didn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? So that's part of it.
Yep.
You're a guy that had a dream and you made your dream a reality. And, and it can happen no matter how old you are, which is really important. Anything else you want to tell the viewers today? Before we close the show?
Well, and I think the other thing is just surrounding yourself with good, positive people that can, people that can rise you up, make you better. That everyone can learn from one another, and if you surround yourself with negativity, you're never gonna succeed. You got to be surround yourself with good people and positive people and people you can learn from, and don't ever think that you know everything, because you don't.
That's
I
right.
don't, and I never will. I'm always going to be learning. I'm always going to be looking for other people that I can learn from, and things, no one knows everything, and the people that think that they do are the ones that are not going to be successful.
The one and only Bobby Lutz, who started the Richard Petty Racing School, who turned into the Jeff Gordon Racing School, the Mario Andretti Racing School, now 101 Driving Experience. He's done it all. He is the guy who, if anything, takes some of his words of wisdom to understand to work hard, man. Nothing comes easy. Just get up and go to work, earn it, and you too can become multimillionaire. Remember, as I always say, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? And if you can honestly say no, then you know what? Stop being ordinary and start being extraordinary. This is your boy Wham Bam. Stay positive, and remember, keep testing negative. See you next Wednesday on Wham Bam Wednesday. And I'm out.